Good afternoon. Welcome to another English Department Poetry Podcast. Miss Roberts here. I'm joined by Miss Park and Miss Stavner for another exciting feminist reading of Porphyria's Lover. Okay, ladies. So, I love this poem.
Yes.
I'm going to just admit that straight off the bat.
Yeah.
It's one of my absolute
And I
favourites.
have to say that the girls love this poem. Yes, and kids always love this poem.
I think I read this for the first time when I was an A-level student, actually.
Okay.
And I just remember, being very tense as I read it and not knowing what was going to happen. And then it suddenly happens and it's so shocking and so dark. And I really liked that. I thought it,
I think that the reason that it's so good is because it's still so kind of current. These things happen to women, and it really resonates with people with children, because they know this kinds of thing still happens. They can identify with it. This is a news story in a poem.
Yeah, a lot of the girls in my class were talking about I think there was a BBC 3 documentary called Murdered by My Boyfriend that they'd all seen.
Yes.
And it was very much about a kind of jealous, possessive man, you know, that kind of classic trope of if I can't have you, no one else can.
And that's absolutely what's going on in here. And this is very much a poem about somebody possessing somebody to the point where they're going to kill them because that's the only way they're going to keep them forever.
Yeah, to retain that ultimate control.
And what I really loved when I was studying Letters from Yorkshire with my class was that sense of independence that you get in Letters from Yorkshire, and how much my class responded to the idea of air and light and what that could mean as a metaphor for the rest of your life and being able to have that kind of relationship. And this poem is the absolute opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's all very claustrophobic. They're in this cottage together. It's really hot and wet and damp. There's a storm going on outside. There's no sense of any air or light in this poem.
No, it's very it is tense, it's claustrophobic. She almost traps herself as well, where it says she shut the cold out in the storm.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
She's voluntarily walked into this situation, which again is so kind of classic of domestic violence stories, where women can't tear themselves away from men who, although they are violent and cruel, you keep going back because you think you can change them, or you think that you can forgive them. They promise they'll change. And I think it's really interesting that she walks into her own kind of doom.
And she doesn't just walk in; she glides in. I love the fact that it's almost like that word "glided" on line 6. It's it's like slipping down a slippery slope. There's no getting back. I think it's the choice of vocabulary in this poem is so clever.
And even the way that syntax is used, that kind of old-fashioned, when glided in Porphyria, rather than Porphyria glided in.
So she had no power over it.
Absolutely, So she's not active, she's passive because of that syntax choice.
Yes, really absolutely. I hadn't noticed that before. But that's absolutely true.
I read a really interesting article about domestic violence, and in that article they said that obviously people who abuse other people somehow become addicted to abusing, but also victims in a way become physically addicted to the abuse, even though that they absolutely hate it.
But do you think she's got any idea that he's abusive prior to this incident?
I think there are indications that she does, because the fact that at last she sat down by my side and called me. When no voice replied, she put my arm around her waist, about her waist. He is completely silent, and she's obviously she's thinking, oh goodness, he's in a bad mood, I'm going to try and soften him. You know, she uses her sexuality, puts his arm around her waist. You know, she tries to take control and say, look, I'm here now, I'm back. Don't be cross, don't be angry. And stooping made my cheek lie there. She stoops to kind of get him on her shoulder, and you know, she's very kind of attentive to his needs. It's almost as if she's reading the mood, murmuring how she loved me. Murmuring suggests kind of reassurance, you know, kind of that whispered sort of promise. and the fact that she doesn't see it in any way as odd that he's sat in the dark and the cold with no fire until she comes in and sorts everything out. I think she is used to him being quite morose. And I don't know whether she's used to him being violent though.
No, because I've never thought,
but perhaps emotionally
definitely
abusive.
Emotionally abusive prior to this.
Maybe to the point when it no longer affects her that much. So
it's interesting what you said about the passive verbs, because now you've said it, you think there's quite a lot of passivity in the syntax, and all her yellow hair displaced as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and she really is trying to kind of, get him to give her something back, and he won't. He's abusive through neglect
and through silent treatment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very passive aggressive. I'm just going to sit here in silence in the dark.
Exactly.
Until you get home.
Let her make sure I'm in the bed.
And he's only really affectionate about her, isn't he? Once she's dead. It's only once she's actually dead that he starts to be affectionate with her, isn't he? And the smiling, rosy little head. He starts to be sort of say affectionate things about her.
Yeah, her cheek once more blushed bright. He talks about that. He makes her sound.
The first time when he actually notices all those little things about her beauty as well, isn't it? So at the beginning we focus on him.
That's right.
Being in a bad mood, and then once she's dead, it's almost as if the spell was broken.
He does compliment her though when he says that moment she was mine, fair. I mean, he means fair there in the sense of beautiful, but really interesting that he combines that with the two possessive pronouns, mine.
Which is so brilliant the way that line is. That repetition of mine is so powerful, isn't it? And you can use mine.
Almost like Gollum, isn't it?
It is like
Lord of the Rings.
I think the thing about the poetry itself, the other reason why it's so accessible is the language itself is not very complex.
No.
So it becomes a very easily accessible poem from the point of view of you can identify with the subject, but also it's an easy poem to understand. What do we think about which ones it fits with? Because I find this one quite a hard one sometimes to compare to the others, because it's very different in its subject.
To me, the easiest fit is The Farmer's Bride.
Yes.
Because, again, you've got perhaps a less obviously abusive relationship initially, but, this I chose a maid, she's very much, being objectified. She's been kind of, selected and had no active part in choosing him back.
And also doesn't have a voice. Neither of the women have a voice.
Neither of the women have a voice. They're both dramatic monologues where the poet's taken on the voice of another character to kind of embody that kind of controlling, and again, you get this in The Farmer's Bride, but what to me? She's nice to all the animals, but she doesn't give anything to me, and that jealousy is coming through there. And you've also got the repetition at the end, similar to mine, her eyes, her hair. The big difference being, I think, in Porphyria's Lover, we see the moment of violence. And possession, whereas perhaps in The Farmer's Bride we see the moment before and we're left with the tension of does he go up to the attic and take advantage of her sexually, which is what's kind of hinted at.
What do we think about Porphyria in terms of it being a disease and the choice of name?
I think it's an interesting one in terms of love perhaps leading to madness, because Porphyria is a disease that would eventually, the kind of final stages of that disease would be a kind of madness that would overtake you. And he is mad. He's a psychopath.
Yeah, the last line is the line for me that confirms that is a really psychopathic thing to say, isn't it, at the end there, that God hasn't judged him for what he's done. He doesn't believe he's done anything wrong.
And he sits there all night.
Yes,
that is
with a dead
terrifying.
Body.
This one is really interesting. And yet God has not said a word, because according to the DSM, which is the American way of assessing if someone is a psychopath or a narcissist, if you're a narcissistic psychopath, you consider yourself to be God.
Okay.
And I think it's really interesting.
Okay, that's really interesting. So he could be because does he speak actually in the poem? Does he actually say
No.
anything to her?
No, and she doesn't either.
That's really interesting, isn't it? So that
all
could
physically,
be. But, okay.
And you know, even his method of killing her, like killing a woman with her own hair, there's something so dark about that, in the sense that, you know, women do tend to have long hair, and it's kind of, you know, a symbol of beauty and femininity. For him to destroy her with that symbol of her own femininity,
absolutely,
so misogynistic. It's just ridiculous.
And apparently,
and it's really interesting that Browning's really got that idea at that time, that he really understands. That it, you know, he's a male writer writing in the early 19th century, well, mid 19th century, and is understanding what misogyny looks like. In quite a sort of modern way.
And how men mistreat women.
I also find it interesting because strangulation, I know, just coming up with all those really morbid facts, is the most common cause when you murder someone because of the passion.
Crimes of passion.
I would imagine
without a kind of weapon to hand.
Your hands become
and it's
the weapon, and
such
it's
an
very
intimate way to
It
kill
is.
someone.
It really is.
You know, see the light go out of their eyes, and he does, doesn't he? You know. You know, and then he opens her eyes again, which is just so dark, you know, so disturbed to do that, to want to look in these dead, blank eyes.
And the one of the videos that goes with it is really good for that, because when he opens the eyes are all bloodshot. It's very disturbing.
But he says, laughter blue eyes without a stain. As if there is no...
I know.
Yeah, very odd. I think we'll have to leave that there.
I think we do have to leave that there, but it's a great poem. Thank you, everybody.